I pulled the trigger on my own life that rainy Tuesday in April, not with a gun, but with a single email that unraveled everything we'd built. Our marriage. Our firm. His lies. The boardroom smelled like stale coffee and desperation when I watched his face crumple. The man I'd loved for 12 years suddenly exposed as the thief who'd stolen not just our savings, but my soul. And as the sirens wailed closer, I wondered if revenge tasted sweeter than regret, or if I'd just traded one prison for another. The Windy City never sleeps. But that night, it felt like it was holding its breath, waiting for me to break. Chicago's skyline loomed like jagged teeth against the bruised purple sky. And I, Lillian Harper, stood on the balcony of our Gold Coast penthouse, nursing a glass of bourbon that burned less than the truth I'd swallowed earlier that day. 12 years. That's how long I'd been married to Daniel Voss, the golden boy of Voss and Harper Legal, the firm we'd scraped together from nothing in the gritty underbelly of the Loop. He was the charm, the rainmaker with his Ivy League smile and easy handshake. I was the blade, the one who carved through precedents and plea deals like they were butter. Together, we were unstoppable until I realized we'd been chasing shadows. It started with a whisper, the kind that slithers into your ear during a deposition you think is routine. I'd been prepping for the merger case against Sterling Pharma, a beast of a client that could swallow our firm whole if we botched it. Daniel was lead on the financials, buried in spreadsheets and side deals I trusted him to handle. "Babe," he'd say over late-night takeout from Giordano's. His tie loosened just so. "I've got this. You focus on the courtroom drama." I did. God, did I ever. I pulled 12-hour days, quoting obscure clauses from the Sarbanes-Oxley Act like scripture, while he jetted off to meetings in New York that always left him smelling faintly of Chanel No. 5, not mine. The whisper came from Elena, our junior associate, the one with the sharp bob and sharper instincts. She cornered me in the ladies' room after a strategy session, her voice a hiss over the hum of the hand dryers. "Lillian, check the offshore accounts. Daniel's been routing funds through a Cayman shell. It's not just sloppy, it's embezzlement." My stomach dropped like the L train screeching to a halt. Embezzlement? From our own firm? We'd bootstrapped Voss and Harper with student loans and late fees. Every dollar was blood equity. I laughed it off at first. Elena's ambitious, always gunning for partner, but that night, alone in the office with the city lights flickering like faulty synapses, I cracked the password on his laptop. Lil and Dan forever. Pathetic. The files hit me like a freight train. Over $2.4 million siphoned into accounts tied to a woman named Rebecca Klein, a pharma exec from Sterling's rival board. Not just money emails, explicit ones, laced with pillow talk about our future and getting rid of the ball and chain.
Me. I was the chain.
And the kicker? Forged signatures on the withdrawal docs. My name scrawled in a font so close to my own it could have fooled a polygraph. He'd framed me. Set me up to take the fall if the auditors came knocking, all while he played the grieving husband in divorce court. The betrayal wasn't the affair, it was the premeditation. The way he'd woven me into his escape hatch like I was disposable collateral. I didn't cry. Harpers don't cry, we plot. That bourbon on the balcony? It was my war paint. By dawn, I drafted the email, a blind CC to the firm's board, the SEC tip line, and why not, Rebecca's personal Gmail, scraped from the metadata. Subject: the real cost of loyalty, Voss and Harper's House of Cards. Attachments: every damning file, time-stamped and notarized. I hit send at 6:47 a.m., just as the sun clawed its way over Lake Michigan, and watched the delivery receipts ping like bullets. Daniel stumbled into the kitchen at 7, hair tousled from what I now knew was her bed, not a solo crash on the office couch. "Morning. Gorgeous," he murmured, pecking my cheek before pouring coffee. I smiled, my courtroom smile, the one that disarmed witnesses and slid the printouts across the marble island. His face drained of color faster than a guilty plea.
Lil.
"What the—" "Save it," I cut him off, voice steady as the mag-mile traffic below. Section 12B of the Partnership Agreement, breach of fiduciary duty voids all equity shares. You're out. And the feds? They'll love the irony of a white-collar guy like you in orange. He lunged for the phone. But I was faster, yanked the landline, blocked his cell signal with a jammer I'd bought off a shady app 2 hours prior. Paranoia?
No.
Preparation. That's the American way. Trust but verify. Especially when love's involved. He begged then, on his knees amid the crumbs of our last shared bagel, tears streaking that chiseled jaw I'd once traced with my lips. It was a mistake.
Lil.
Rebecca. She got under my skin. But I did it for us, for the firm. Sterling was squeezing us. This was leverage. Lies layered on lies, each one more elaborate than the last. He flipped from contrite husband to wounded partner in seconds, quoting our vows like they were a defense brief. We built this together. You can't just erase me. But I could. And I did. The cops arrived by 9, tipped off by my anonymous forward to the Chicago PD's fraud unit. Daniel went quietly, cuffs glinting under the foyer chandelier we'd picked out in Soho. "You'll regret this," he whispered as they led him away, eyes burning with that moxie I'd fallen for. Regret? Maybe. But the hollow in my chest was already filling with something darker, resolve, laced with the thrill of the hunt. The fallout was swift, a media circus that turned our quiet firm into front-page fodder for the Tribune. Voss and Harper implodes, sex, lies, and stolen millions. Pundits on WGN debated it like a prize fight. Was I the vengeful harpy torching her own nest, or the whistleblower heroine saving the little guy from corporate greed? Elena got promoted, my doing. A quiet nod in the chaos, and the board voted unanimously to rebrand as Harper Legal, with me at the helm. But victory tasted like ash. Nights blurred into blurs of depositions and depots, haunted by flashes of Daniel's laugh echoing in our empty bed. That's when the secrets started bubbling up. The ones I'd buried deeper than his Cayman accounts. 12 years ago, fresh out of Northwestern law, we'd taken on a pro bono case, a whistleblower against Big Pharma. A kid named Tommy Ruiz who'd OD'd on tainted opioids from Sterling's pipeline. Tommy didn't make it. Overdose ruled accidental. But the suit? It nearly bankrupted us. Daniel had pushed to settle, whispering about bigger fish while I raged against the machine. What I didn't know then, what clawed its way into my dreams now, was that Daniel had cut a side deal. Bribed a juror with laundered cash to tank the verdict, then funneled the kickback into our startup fund. I'd signed the incorporation papers blind, assuming his investor was legit. That money? It was blood money. Tommy's ghost in every brick of our empire. The realization hit during a routine audit. Elena's voice tentative over the intercom. "Lillian, we found discrepancies in the founding ledgers. Signatures match yours on some. Irregular transfers." My hand trembled on the receiver. I'd taken the fall before I even knew there was a fall. co-signed his sins without a whisper of consent. Betrayal squared. A double helix of deceit twisting tighter with every revelation. I needed answers. Real ones. Not his honey deflections from a Cook County holding cell. Rebecca Klein, that was my in. She wasn't just the other woman. She was the architect. The one who dangled Sterling's merger like a carrot while Daniel carved out his escape. A quick LinkedIn scrape and I had her address. A sleek condo in Streeterville. Overlooking the river, like she owned the current. I drove there at midnight. The Jag's headlights cutting through fog thick as my fury. Parked curbside and waited. She emerged at 1:17 a.m., stilettos clicking like metronomes. A trench coat swirling around legs I'd seen wrapped around my husband in blurry iPhone pics. Rebecca, I called from the shadows, stepping into the sodium glow of a street lamp. She froze. Clutch purse halfway to her mouth, cigarette trembling between manicured nails. Up close. She was older than the photos. Lines etched around eyes that screamed boardroom battles. Lillian Harper. The ex. Her voice was smoke and silk. No fear. Just calculation. Americans like us don't flinch. We appraise. I need to know about Tommy Ruiz. The name hung between us like exhaust fumes. Her laugh was brittle. A champagne cork popping in reverse. Ancient history. Darling. Your hubby handled that mess. But her eyes darted, guilt's tell. She knew. And in that flicker, I saw the flip, not just Daniel's lover, but his co-conspirator. The one who'd whispered the bribe into his ear over silk sheets. We talked for an hour on a bench by the yacht club, the lake lapping like accusations. She spilled it piecemeal, how Sterling had targeted upstarts like us, how Daniel had been her plant from the start, groomed during a conference mixer in Vegas. Tommy's case? Collateral. He was going to expose the formula tweaks, she said, exhaling smoke toward the stars. Opioids laced with fentanyl precursors, off books. For the black market surge. Daniel fixed it. For a cut. My cut. Unknowingly. The firm. Our life, it was built on a corpse. Rage boiled. But I played it cool. The lawyer's poker face masking the storm. And the embezzlement? She shrugged. Elegant as a shrug can be. Insurance. If you got too close, we'd pin it on you. Poetic. No. Poetic. I wanted to claw that smirk off her face. But revenge isn't sloppy. It's surgical. Walk away, Rebecca. Or I drag you down with him. She stood, tossing her butt into the drink. Too late for threats.
Lil.
The merger's dead. But Sterling? We're Hydra. Cut one head. She trailed off, vanishing into the night like a bad sequel. Back home, the penthouse felt like a tomb, echoes mocking my solitude. I poured another bourbon, stared at the locket on the nightstand, our wedding photo miniaturized. Daniel's arm around me like a noose. Sleep came fitful, dreams of Tommy's face morphing into Daniel's, pleading from a courtroom dock. Morning brought arraignment headlines. Boss pleads not guilty, claims frame job by bitter wife. The flip again, victim now. Me the villain. Public opinion split like the Chicago River in spring. Justice for Voss trending on X alongside Harper Hero. Friends called. Texts buzzing like flies. You okay?
No.
But okay was for amateurs. The real hunt began that week. I hired a PI, ex-Fed named Kowalski, who moved like a ghost through the digital underbelly. His reports piled up, Rebecca's alibis cracking. Daniel's jailhouse calls to untraceable burners. And the secret, the one that would gut me deepest. Tommy Ruiz hadn't OD'd alone. There was a sister, Maria, who'd vanished after the settlement. Her last known address a shelter in Pilsen. Kowalski found her obit. Suicide. 2 years back. Overdose. Same tainted batch. Daniel knew. He'd buried the connection. Paid off the coroner with the same slush fund that built our life. That's when the darkness settled. As a Lake Michigan gale. Revenge wasn't enough. It had to echo. Ripple out to touch every lie. I started small. Leaked the Tommy files to a Sun-Time stringer. Anonymous drop in a Wrigleyville bar. The story broke Friday. Pharma scandal links to fallen lawyer firm. Sterling stock dipped 8%. Rebecca's name splashed in subheads. Daniel's attorney called. Voice oily. Cease this witch hunt. Mrs.
Voss.
Discovery's a two-way street. Mrs.
Voss.
The name stung like salt in a wound. But I was done being the fall guy. Saturday. I drove to Statesville Correctional. The visit room a fluorescent hell of buzzing bees and regret. Daniel looked smaller behind the plexiglass. Jumpsuit hanging off shoulders once broad with promise. Lil, he breathed. Receiver to his ear like a lifeline.
Help me.
It's all falling apart. I leaned in, close enough to see the stubble shadowing his jaw. Tell me about Maria. His eyes widened, then shuddered the flip. Denial to deflection. Who?
Babe.
Focus. This is entrapment. You started this war.
No.
Daniel. You did. With Tommy's blood on the ledger. He cracked then, whispers tumbling. It was survival. Sterling would have crushed us. I protected you. Protected. The word twisted like a knife. By framing me? By building our dream on a grave. He pressed the glass. Veins bulging. I love you.
Lil.
Always have. Let me fix it from in here.
Love.
The ultimate flip. Poison dressed as nectar. I hung up without a word. The click echoing like a gavel. Outside. Rain lashed the parking lot, mirroring the torrent inside. Back at the firm, my firm now, Elena waited with fresh intel, Rebecca's panic emails, scrambling for a scapegoat. The board pressured me to settle. For stability, but stability was the lie I'd lived.
No.
This was America, land of the free and home of the calculated risk. I'd burn it all if it meant justice, even if it scorched me too. The weeks blurred into a haze of depositions and death threats, the kind that comes scrawled on napkins from dive bars in Bridgeport. Harper Legal teetered on the edge, clients fleeing like rats from a sinking Great Lakes freighter. But I doubled down, took on Sterling pro bono, a class action suit for every Ruiz family shattered by their greed. It was controversial as hell. Me, the jilted wife, spearheading the charge against my husband's puppet masters. Op-eds in the Tribune called it vindictive vigilantism. My inbox overflowed with fan mail from Pilsen moms and hate from Wall Street suits.
Divided?
We were polarized. Red state versus blue city in microcosm. Elena became my anchor, the one who'd sniffed out the rot. Over greasy Lou Malnati's pies in the office kitchen, she'd probe gently. You sure about this path?
Lil?
It's eating you alive. Her eyes, dark and knowing, reminded me of Maria Ruiz's mugshot. Same fire, same fragility. What choice do I have? I'd counter. Chasing pepperoni with Pinot Noir. Let them walk. Build my life on bones. She'd nod. But worry lines etched deeper. Elena had her own secrets. I sensed late nights poring over case files that weren't assigned. Whispers into her phone about the old days. Loyalty's a funny thing. It blinds you until it bites. Kowalski's next drop was a bombshell. Audio from Daniel's burner. A call to Rebecca post-arraignment. Fix this, he snarled. Voice tinny through the speaker. Harper's unraveling everything. Leak the Ruiz girl, say Lillian knew. Covered it up. My blood iced.
Knew?
I'd been in the dark. But now they were painting me as co-conspirator. The ambitious bitch who'd signed off on murder for a penthouse view. Rebecca's reply was velvet venom. Patience. Love. I've got a juror in my pocket, same one from Tommy's trial. We'll flip the narrative. Lillian's the monster.
Flip.
Always flipping. Like a coin tossed by fate's cruel hand. I confronted her at a gala that night. The Art Institute's grand hall dripping with crystal and hypocrisy. Sterling's gala. Ironically, celebrating ethical innovation in pharma. Rebecca glided through the crowd in emerald silk, arm in arm with a senator who reeked of old money. I cornered her by the Monet. Champagne flutes clinking like accusations. Heard your plan, I murmured. Close enough to smell her perfume, the same as the emails. Her laugh tinkled, drawing glances from the elite. Eavesdropping. Lillian? How déclassé. But her grip tightened on the stem, knuckles white. Tell Daniel to stop. Or I go public with the tapes. Bluff, I had the audio. But no hard proof of her involvement.
Yet.
She leaned in, breath warm on my ear. You think you're the Avenger? Darling, you're the patsy. Always were. Daniel chose you because you're clean, the good girl facade. Without that, he'd have nothing to leverage. The words landed like a gut punch. But I held, quoting her own playbook. Section 18C of the RICO statutes, conspiracy voids immunity. Walk away. She pulled back, eyes gleaming like the lake at midnight. Or what? You drag us all down, including your precious firm? Elena's resume lists a certain internship. At Sterling. Cozy.
No.
Elena? The betrayal stung fresh. A secondary wound festering. Back in the Jag. Rain hammering the roof like judgment. I dialed Kowalski. Dig on Elena.
Deep.
His gravelly affirm came quick. On it.
Boss.
But watch your six, these snakes coil. Sleep evaded me that night. The locket mocking from the dresser. I pried it open, stared at our frozen smiles. What if Rebecca was right? What if I'd been the blind eye all along? Ambition trumping intuition? Dawn brought clarity, sharp as a switchblade. Elena arrived early. Coffee in hand, my usual. Black, with 2 sugars. Rough night, she asked, settling into the leather chair across my desk. I studied her, the bob impeccable, blouse crisp. Tell me about Sterling. Her cup paused midair, steam curling like suspicion. What? Your internship. Rebecca mentioned it. Color drained from her cheeks. But she rallied the flip, from confidant to cornered. Ancient history.
Lil.
Summer gig. Nothing more. They headhunted me post-grad. But I chose you, us, because you fight dirty for the little guy. Lies? Truth? The line blurred. American justice's eternal gray. Prove it, I said, sliding Kowalski's prelim report across, emails from her to edu address to Rebecca, time-stamped during Tommy's trial. Consulting. Elena's eyes welled, but not with tears, with fury. You think I betrayed you? After everything? She snatched the pages.
Scanning.
This is doctored. Daniel, he must have. Her voice cracked. And in that fracture, I saw it. Not deceit, but desperation. She'd been Tommy's cousin. Orphaned young. Funneled into law by his ghost. The internship? A Trojan horse. Spying for Sterling to avenge her blood. But when Daniel's bribe surfaced, she'd flipped, joined us to dismantle from within. The revelation bonded us tighter than blood, two women forged in Pharma's fire. I never told you, she confessed over the report's ashes in a safe incinerator. Because grief's a weakness in court. But Lil, Maria was my aunt. That money Daniel took? It was meant for her settlement, stolen twice over. We plotted then, sisters in arms, mapping Rebecca's downfall like a closing argument. Elena's intel filled gaps. Rebecca's private jet logs to the Caymans mirrored Daniel's. Coincidence? Hell no. They were partners. Endgame, a cushy exile on white sands. The climax brewed in a marathon hearing. Federal court in the Dirksen building. Air thick with leather and lies. I argued the class action motion. Voice steady as I quoted Ruiz v. Sterling precedents, ones I'd unearthed from dusty archives. Tommy's echo in every citation. Rebecca testified, poised as a peacock, denying everything with a smile that screamed perjury. MS. Harper's vendetta is personal, she purred to the judge. A grizzled vet named Harlan who'd seen every flavor of corruption. Her husband's troubles cloud her judgment. The gallery murmured, reporters tapping furiously. Social media erupting in real-time polls. Is Lillian Harper justice or jealousy? Daniel watched from the back. Out on bail, I'd unwittingly funded through firm escrow, irony's bitter pill. His eyes locked on mine during cross.
Pleading silent. Stop this.
But I couldn't. Not when Elena slipped me the flash drive mid-recess. Rebecca's voice. Crystal on tape. Admitting the juror fix. For Daniel, she cooed to an unseen lover. Our future. I played it in open court. The room erupting like a Cubs rally gone wrong. Harlan's gavel cracked like thunder. Objection overruled. This changes everything. Pandemonium followed, Rebecca lunging from the stand, shrieking fabrication while bailiffs wrestled her down. Daniel bolted for the doors. But feds swarmed, cuffs snapping like applause. The twist hit as they dragged him past, a whispered confession. Just for me. It was for you.
Lil.
The baby, our baby. Miscarriage docs were fake. I hid the pregnancy to protect you from the stress. Baby? The word detonated. Shards of memory piercing. The flu last fall. My endless fatigue dismissed as burnout. He'd known. Hidden it to shield me or control the narrative. The courtroom spun. Elena's hand on my arm the only anchor. Harlan adjourned. But the damage was done. Sterling stock cratered 22%. Class action certified.
Outside.
Flashbulbs blinded. Protesters chanting, justice for Ruiz. Amid countersigns, Harper hysteria. Divided. Just as I'd orchestrated. Readers. Viewers. The nation picking sides in a morality play where heroes wore gray. But the darkness lingered. As the L's underbelly. That night, alone in the penthouse, I cradled the locket, now cracked from my grip. Daniel's lie about the baby, was it absolution or deeper deceit? Kowalski called at 2 a.m. Check the docs.
Boss.
Fake as a $3 bill.
No pregnancy.
Flip again, his final gambit. A Hail Mary to humanize the monster. Rage surged, but so did doubt. Had I pushed too far? Torched innocence in my blaze? Revenge is a marathon in thigh-high boots, glamorous from afar, blistering up close.
By summer.
Harper Legal was Phoenix risen. Case backlog bursting with underdog suits, evictions in Cabrini Green, wage theft in the stockyards. Elena and I tag-teamed like pros, her fire tempering my ice, but the scars itched. Daniel's trial loomed in September, a spectacle slated for primetime coverage on CNN's Crime and Justice block. Rebecca flipped state's evidence in July, trading her silk for a plea, 5 years.
Probation if she sang.
She did. Spilling the Cayman web. The juror buys. Even Tommy's formula tweaks. Sterling crumbled. Execs scattering like roaches under kitchen light. Poetic? Damn right. But poetry doesn't pay therapy bills. Public fractured further. Podcasts dissected me weekly. The Harper Vendetta, empowerment or excess? Guests split 50-50ths. Feminists hailed my takedown of the boys' club. Conservatives decried it as woke warfare on capitalism. X threads devolved into flame wars. Memes of my courtroom glare captioned, "When Karen goes Karen." I avoided it all. Holing up in the firm's rooftop garden. Chain-smoking menthols despite the lung cancer stats. Elena caught me once. Brow furrowed. This high? It'll crash hard.
Lil.
She was right. Nights brought Tommy's face. Maria's obit. And now, phantom kicks from a ghost pregnancy. Guilt's the real killer. Slow and insidious. Kowalski unearthed the last thread in August. Daniel's investor from startup days wasn't faceless. It was Harlan, the judge, a silent partner greased by sterling kickbacks. The flip that flipped everything. Harlan, the arbiter of our fates, neck deep in the rot I'd exposed. Kowalski's surveillance pics showed late-night meets at a Lincoln Park steakhouse. Envelopes thick as bribes passing hands. Your move, boss, the PI grunted over burner phone. My move. Call the feds? Leak to press? Or wield it like Excalibur? Carving my own legend? I chose the American special, leverage. Confronted Harlan in his chambers pre-trial. The room paneled in mahogany that screamed Old Boys Network. He looked up from sentencing files, jowls quivering. MS. Harper. To what do I owe? The Ruiz case, I interrupted, sliding glossies across his desk. His eyes bulged, then narrowed, calculation over shock. Blackmail? From the likes of you? Justice? Your honor. Recuse yourself. Throw the book at Daniel and Rebecca. Or these hit the Bar Association by dawn. He blustered, quoted ethics codes like shields, but folded like cheap suit. You're playing with fire, girl.
Girl.
The condescension fueled me. Then burn with me. Trial day dawned muggy. The Dirksen a pressure cooker of anticipation. Gallery packed. Ruiz family descendants in the front row. Their stares heavy as anvils. Daniel entered shackled. Gaze locking mine, not hate, but hunger. Like I was the prize he'd lost. Rebecca testified first. Voice quavering under direct. Voss recruited me for the frame. Lillian was collateral. Cross was mine. Elena prepped me with barbs honed sharp. MS. Klein. You mean the woman whose signature you forged? While sleeping with her husband. Gasps rippled. Rebecca flushed crimson. It was business. Business. The word hung. profane in its banality. Daniel's turn came afternoon. The room hushed as a confessional. He took the stand smooth, tie-knotted prison perfect. "I never meant to hurt Lillian," he began, voice cracking artfully. "The affair was weakness, the funds, desperation. But the baby, our loss, it broke me. Lies. All of it, but delivered with Oscar-worthy pathos." Jurors leaned in, women dabbing eyes. "My redirect was brutal, Mr. Voss. Care to explain the falsified miscarriage records? Or the Ruiz bribe you cut with Judge Harlan?" The name drop detonated, whispers exploding to shouts. Harlan's absence that morning suddenly glaring. Bailiffs cleared the bench, mistrial murmurs swelled. Chaos reigned, feds storming in mid-session. Harlan hauled from his robes in a side office, sputtering denials. Daniel lunged across the well, roaring, "You bitch," before deputies pinned him.
Me?
I stood frozen, the locket burning in my pocket like a brand. Elena pulled me aside in the hall, face ashen. "We did it."
Lil.
"But at what cost?"
Cost.
The word echoed as headlines screamed, "Judicial scandal rocks Chicago courts, Harper at epicenter." The Harper takedown trended, but so did court corruption cover-up. Factions forming overnight. The twist uncoiled that evening. Kowalski's urgent text, "Check your safe deposit." Now. The Loop branch was a ghost town after hours. Teller eyeing me like a celeb. Inside the box, our wedding box. Joint access, nestled a thumb drive and note in Daniel's script, for when you need the truth. Love always. Trembling, I plugged it into the vault's reader. Videos, grainy cam footage from Tommy's last night.
Not OD.
But pushed, Rebecca's hands on the syringe. Daniel turning away. And Maria's suicide? Staged. Her diary scanned. They know I know. Voss promised protection for a price. Price. Silence. Enforced by shadows. But the gut punch. My signature. Real this time. On a 2010 memo greenlighting the bribe. To protect the firm, it had read. My flourish authentic.
How?
Blackout drunk after a loss. Daniel at my elbow with pen in hand. Coerced consent. Legally gray as hell. Enough to taint me. Make me the flipper too. The drive's final file. Audio of him coaching. Sign.
Lil.
For us. I'd slurred yes. Amnesia my alibi. Innocent?
Complicit?
The line dissolved, leaving me adrift in moral fog. I drove to Statesville unannounced. The visit denied, but desperation breaching protocol. Through the glass. Daniel smirked. Receiver up. You found it.
Why?
I choked, tears hot. To free you, or cage me deeper? His laugh was hollow. Wind through cracked windows.
Both. Babe.
You're the hero now, flawed. Like the rest of us. Let it go. Let it go. As if betrayal's a balloon string.
Outside.
Storm broke, sheets of rain mirroring my unraveling. Elena waited in her Prius, headlights cutting fog. What now? She asked. Engine humming.
Now?
The climax I'd engineered teetered. Drop the drive. Absolve myself? Or wield it? Damn us all. Controversy's currency, truth as weapon. Slicing both ways. I chose the pyre. Mailing copies to the feds. Press. Even Harlan's wife. By midnight. Alerts buzzed. New evidence implicates Harper in pharma plot. Sides realigned. My fans fracturing. Foes crowing gotcha. Sleep came drugged. Pills chasing bourbon. Dreams a carousel of faces. Tommy accusing. Maria forgiving. Daniel loving. Dawn brought warrants not for me, but Elena. Her flip revealed she'd planted the internship emails. Kowalski's proof a setup to bind me closer.
Cousin? Lie.
She'd been Rebecca's mole all along. Flipped again for the thrill. Betrayal's echo. Infinite regress. Autumn stripped Chicago bare. Leaves skittering like fleeing accomplices across Millennium Park. Harper Legal shuttered temporarily. Renovations. The sign lied, while I navigated the maelstrom from a rented walk-up in Wicker Park. Bunk beds and all. Trading penthouse views for anonymity. Elena's arrest hit hardest, dragged from her Logan Square brownstone in PJs. Mugshot viral by breakfast. Her confession in interrogation vids. Leaked to Fox Chicago. Lillian was collateral too, idealistic. Breakable. Rebecca paid well. Payable? I'd trusted her with my scars. Shared bourbon and vendettas. The flip, her chameleon skin shedding loyalty like snakeskin. Feds circled. Agent Ruiz, no relation. Irony's joke, a stone-faced Latina with eyes like Maria's. MS. Harper. Your memo. Care to explain? Over coffee in a windowless conference room. I quoted duress clauses from contract law. Voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. Drunk. Manipulated. Not malice. She nodded. Unmoved. Gray area. But Enrico.
Grejskilte till proven. Guilty.
The word looped. A dirge for the woman I'd been. Fierce litigator. Loving wife. Unwitting architect of ruin. Daniel's retrial fast-tracked to November. Venue shifted to Springfield for impartiality. I testified remotely. Zoom feed glitching like my nerves. Gallery invisible. But I felt their weight, Ruiz descendants glaring through pixels. Sterling shareholders seething. Did you know about the bribes? The prosecutor pressed. A bulldog named Gallagher.
No, primelit.
Small lie amid giants. The memo loomed. But duress held, psych eval citing my episode. Daniel's gaslighting documented in therapy notes I'd unearthed post-drop. His defense hammered the baby hoax, painting me hysterical. A woman scorned, fabricating fates. Jurors, Midwest salt of earth. Farmers and factory hands shifted uncomfortably. Polls post-testimony tilting 60/40ths against me. Controversial? Nuclear. Women's groups rallied outside the courthouse. Believe Harper banners waving. Men's rights forums online dubbed me the original false accuser. Divided nation. Microcosm in a pixelated box. Rebecca's ghost loomed largest, plea withdrawn. Facing life after the drive's revelations. She suicided in custody. Note cryptic. Flips end in freefall. Her death tipped scales. Sympathies surged for Daniel. The loved and lost narrative gaining traction. Pundits pivoted. Harper's crusade claims another victim. Victim. Everyone a victim. No one the villain, the ultimate controversy. Morality's Mobius strip. Climax crested closing arguments. Gallagher thundering. Voss built an empire on bodies, Ruiz. His wife's trust. A family's hope. Daniel's counsel countered soft. A man broken by ambition. Shielded by love's blind eye. The jury deliberated 3 days. Thanksgiving turkey cold on family tables. Verdict. Guilty on all counts, embezzlement. Conspiracy. Manslaughter for Tommy. 25 to life. No parole. Daniel's wail echoed through feeds. Raw as a gut shot. Cheers erupted in my walk-up, solo. Champagne popped to ceiling cracks. Victory? Elena called from Cook County Jail. Collect. You won.
Lil.
But at what price? Price. Firm in limbo. Friends ghosted. Trust a casualty. And the twist, the one sparking endless debates in bars from Boys Town to Bridgeport. It came post-sentencing. Kowalski's final gift, a letter from Daniel. Smuggled via guard.
Lil.
The drive was half-truth. The baby?
Real.
Miscarried at 8 weeks, you were drowning in cases. I hid the stress test results to spare you. Sign the memo? Yes. But to fund prenatal care, black market, off books. Because Sterling blacklisted us post-Tommy. Blacklisted? The pieces slotted. His protection was paternal. Twisted by fear into fraud. Torched the father of our lost child. Tears came then. Hot and unbidden. Soaking the pages. Hero? Villain? Or just human? Fumbling in the dark, I burned the letter. Ashes swirling in the toilet like confetti at a funeral. Elena's trial loomed. Perjury. Obstruction, but I testified for leniency. She was pawn. Like me. Mercy for the broken. Judge, new blood. Untainted. Sentence light. 2 years. Community service in Pilsen clinics. Epilogue unfolded quiet. American Dream's gritty reboot. Harper Legal reopens spring 26. Rebranded Ruiz and Harper. Pro bono focus. Pharma watchdogs on retainer. I dated sporadically. A barista with tattoos. A prof with kind eyes, but love's shadow lingered. Locket buried in a drawer. Daniel wrote monthly from Menard. Letters philosophical. Revenge echoes. But forgiveness resonates. I didn't reply, but kept them. Bookmarks in a life rewritten. Was it happy? Tragic? Readers argued in Reddit AMAs. Book club dissections. Lillian's justice poisoned the well. Collateral damage too high. Versus. She slayed dragons. The world's grayer for it. Divided. Eternally, that's the American way. Tension taut as a skyline wire.
Me?
I walk the Magmile daily. Ghosts at my heels. Bourbon less frequent. Betrayal's echo fades. But never silent. And in quiet moments, I wonder if I'd pulled that trigger softer. Would the child have breathed? The debate rages inside. Out there. Forever.